Hey, y'all doing? It's Judge Lynn. I know it might not be a Friday when you see this, but I promised myself I'd answer a question every Friday. I will call it Figuring It Out on a Friday. Whether or not we figure it out, I don't know, but I'll have some suggestions for you. How about that? And I want to thank everybody that dropped into my DMs. I had a whole list of things that I printed out, and I can't find it. One of them was, oh, holy cow. Oh, someone, she wanted to know, and I wrote her name down, and now I can't remember it. Lotus, something, something, something. She wanted to know where I got my doll houses from. And typically I would go with Greenleaf, which is like Little Lynn, but I think Greenleaf also made Big Boy. But they're two different kinds. Like Big Boy is thicker wood, it's more sturdy, and it's much more expensive. But they're all, a couple of $100. Look at that. This is the bruise I got when I was putting up the bunny hatch. Bunny hatch. I'm on bunny hutch. They said it was a two-man job, and I did it by myself. It'd take 45 minutes. It's a one-woman job, takes 2 hours, and you get bruises in various places of your body. So I got bruised on the leg because you had to. Anyway, me, madam, you're taking care of this rabbit by yourself. You bring a cute living creature in my house, I lose my mind. But anyway, we're gonna be so that's the answer to that question. But the question that I really wanted to answer was one, and I'm not gonna name his name because I don't want his wife to know. And basically, he said to me that his wife is bossy, dismissive, assumes that she can read her mind. He says, I do all these things. I'm a coach. I'm a, different teams for the kids. I treat her kid that she brought into the marriage like my own. I don't cheat. I don't put my hands on her. She cussed me out for trying to take my son to church, who is 2. She's currently not talking to me because basically I told her that she is very unsupportive, unpredictable, and ungrateful because I do most of it, not everything that a man is supposed to do. I'm not looking for credit. The only thing I ever asked out for my wife was peace of mind. She's not nice to him, and she doesn't appreciate the things that he does for her. And it happens in a lot of marriages. There are a lot of lopsided marriages out there. My marriage was lopsided for a period of time. And I think the easiest way for me to respond to this is to take you through a little bit of what I learned about lopsided marriages and how to right the ship. Now, of course, every piece of advice you get from me has to be filtered through my lean, walked past my weird, and circumscribed by my crazy. Every person is different, and you can talk to all the dating shows you want, and this is what women should do, and if a woman does that, she'll be fine. Like, for instance, well, anyway, I'll explain to you real later. There was a point in the marriage me and Mumford were not getting along. He walk in the room, I walk out. I used to flip him the bird when he couldn't see me. Oh, I was terrible. He was hot, I was hot. And neither one of us knew why. We just couldn't figure it out. He was just angry all the time. And anything I did just wasn't good enough. And I tried harder and harder and worked more and more, and it didn't do any good. And then I just started listening. Well, they say, and this is where the part is bad, they say, if you could be submissive and lovely, because I tend to be an in-charge kind of chick. I have to take this off because it's making me itch. I'm allergic to some metals, and apparently I'm allergic to this one. Woo! Good grief. And I just couldn't do anything right as far as he was concerned. Just couldn't do anything right as far as he was concerned. I could do 1,000 things, miss one, and he wouldn't congratulate me on the 999. He would just point at the one, the one, the one, the one. So I was in divorce court, doing my divorce court kind of thing, and I was talking to people, and I was seeing this phenomena over and over and over again, where there's one overbearing partner and the other one who was feeling whittled away. And I said, son of a gun, that's what's going on in my house. So I went home. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this for everybody, but my mother's a little special. So I went home and called my mother, and I said, Mommy, I think I know what's going wrong in our marriage. And I told her, and she said, well, of course that's what's going wrong. I've been trying to explain that to you for months, but you won't listen. What had happened was, like, Eric shut down his shop for the most part. He was an accountant with his own business, and he shut it down to make me a judge because he was my campaign manager, and that's pretty much all he did. So then I became a judge, and then somebody called, and I got on TV. I didn't even try, and I got on TV, and then I was flying from Cleveland to LA, then Cleveland to LA, and I was like, baby, this is too much. And he was like, okay, we can move, and we moved out here. Now, his business was local. He kept a couple of his clients, but mostly he just moved. And so what happened was I kept elevating as far as the looky-loos were concerned, and he was stagnating as far as he was concerned. Not me, him. And he was resentful about it, and he didn't know that. And he didn't know he was resentful. So what I did was I took the advice of the general dating scene, which I should have known better than to do. I was listening to Mama. No. Before I figured it out and was listening to Mama, my first response, because you got to try a lot of, the first response was just to do everything you wanted. Yes, baby, yes, baby, yes, baby, yes, baby, whatever you want, whatever you want. And, well, what should we do next? I don't know, baby. What would you like to do? And that made it worse, because what he did was he left Cleveland and his business and his family and his home with this chick who could think. I mean, I'm no genius or nothing, but I can think. And then I got him out there, got him unattached also, and according to him, how it looked to him was I decided not to think. And he was mad about that. Then I looked on the bench and I saw what was going on, that these women were making themselves smaller and smaller, and the men, mostly, it has been reversed. I know a couple of women who were making themselves, their spouses smaller and smaller, just like this lady did here. But feeling smaller and smaller, with the false belief that would, if I please him enough, or if I please her enough, she'll treat me right. But that isn't it. They're not dissatisfied with you necessarily. They could be, but they may not know what they're dissatisfied with you about. They could be dissatisfied with themselves, dissatisfied with the circumstance. You don't know what's going on. And that's where it all happens. Everybody assumes that the other person is angry for certain reasons. This man said to me at one point that, she expects me to read her mind. I think that a lot of us do. And when I say us, I mean married folk. And when I mean A and say A, sometimes he hears C. And then we end up battling over B, which had nothing to do with that at all. So what's the solve? What do? According to Mama, and I put that in my book, Making Marriage Work. I had enough sense to bring it, Making Marriage Work. It's a whole what to do before you say I don't. And it walks you through the struggle that we had and what I saw on divorce court. But I'm gonna tell you right now the basics of what I think worked for me and how you might be able to tweak it to work for you. First thing I did was put my turn signal on. The thing people always do in the marriage is they change. I saw it on divorce court all the time. One side changes, the other side doesn't know why, and then they assume the most nefarious reason, the most awful reason, because that's how our fear system works. We're always like, if you're looking at a balance sheet of your work, of your money, you always look at the red first, where stock has gone down and not up. But yeah, my investor guy told me that, and it's true. It's true, because you're designed to look for danger, and if you think if your spouse is running around on you, that's of danger to you. So fear or the wrong thing often pops its head. Now they might be doing the wrong thing. I don't know, but you got to make sure you know what the problem is. And so I said, well, what do I do with that? He said, well, she says, either you can have the courage to have a conversation, but I don't think you're that strong right now. So what you can do is, the next time there's a problem or he overreacts to something, I said, I'm sorry I did that wrong, but I don't think that was all that yelling was necessary. All you had to say is, baby, could you do that again? Or that's all that was necessary. And then he got mad, well, you're always da-da-da-da-da. And I said, I don't think I'm always doing anything like that. I always apologize when I'm wrong, and I'm human. And you know what I mean? And then at one day, you have to put your turn signal on. And I did. I said, Mom said, well, before I put my turn signal on, Mom said, you have to get your confidence back. So make sure you're doing things. Now, listen, isn't that interesting? I'm on TV and stuff. I ain't got no confidence. So, I started reading more. I always read a lot. But when I read a lot about history and stuff, I feel more less invaluable. That's a weird thing to say. I feel like, okay, I know, I don't know, less invaluable. That's weird, but it's how I feel. I can't figure it out. If I figure it out one day, I'll explain what I meant, because I'm not sure I know. But I was reading and I was like, oh, this is who you are. You're not a housewife. Not intellectual, but you're a reader. You're a thinker. You're a creator. You're just a little bit off beam, and you've been trying to stay on the beam, and the beam is not for you. So then you put on your turn signal. And every time there was that crash of criticism, and I would be calm, very, very calm, but I wouldn't acquiesce. No, hon, I'm not going to do that. I know what you want and I know why. Here are my reasons why I'm not going to do it, and I'm not. I understand your reasoning, babe. I do. And if you want to go ahead and do that, that's you. You can do that. I just don't want to do it. It took us 18 months, but we figured it out. And then during that 18 months, Mom said, well, you got to have that conversation. I said, yeah, I got to have that conversation. Now, I think this dude talked about him having a conversation, because she said she's currently not talking to me because basically I told her that she is very unsupportive, unpredictable, and ungrateful, because I do most of it and not everything, so he did have that conversation. I don't know how that conversation sounded. I don't know when it occurred. Timing, tone, and topic is very important when you're going to have an important conversation, especially about your emotions, with your significant other, because that alters everything in your life, what you do, how you live day to day, and how you feel. But you have to have the conversation. I remember my conversation was, I've been trying so hard to be a good wife. Try this, try that, and the other, and I don't seem to be pleasing you. What is it? And he thought about it. He said, I don't know. I don't think it's you. And then we figured it out, then we had the big explosive argument, because everything takes time. There's no, I guess there are people who have epiphanies and everything just works out, but I ain't one of them. I don't bomb cities. I guerrilla fight house to house. Make this a little better. We got to dig up this. Okay, if I can get him to stop doing that, he don't have to stop doing it completely. And he was like, and we were guerrilla fighting house to house for our marriage because okay, I'm like, and when the closet would get messy, and I said, you usually say something to me about it. He said, I got used to it. I can't see it anymore. We were teaching ourselves to do things. Now, I should have a clean closet, and he should do all the stuff he's supposed to do, but we don't because we're human. And so we've all contributed to our marriage in a manner that speaks to the fact we want it. So maybe the conversation that he has is, do you want this? And to want this, to be good, is to be happy. And the freaky thing about that is, my husband was being an error hoarder. And I used to talk about him all the time. An error hoarder is a person who just takes everything you did wrong and keeps putting them in a bucket. This is your marriage. And everything you do wrong just flows into that bucket. But there's no drain for you. There's a drain for him, but not for you. And none of the good things you do, none of the right things you do, none of the kind things you do bring the water of your sins down. So eventually, you're both drowned in her errors, because not only is he saying to me every day, you are wrong, he is also unhappy every day because he's got this wife that always making him mad over nothing. And he was becoming more and more angry over smaller and smaller things because he thought I was the problem. And I reinforced that by trying to be all little and small, and I made the problem worse. I exacerbated it. And you can't just listen to general information that this is what will make a man feel good. I had to figure out what would make that man feel good. And he had to figure out what he was upset about. And, the counseling thing happens and you're straight. Now, I don't know that that's going to happen for you. All I'm saying is, A, take back your power. Do something. Make sure you feel good about yourself and confident and not fearful. And I'm not as worried about that with you. I think with women it's a little more difficult because they, relationships, not that they're more important to us, but it's like they more define us. I don't know. Maybe I erase that. I believe it, but I don't have any reason to factually so I ain't gonna say that. But get your confidence back and know who you are, and remember who you are, and know how talented you are and how good you are, and then hey, I'm somebody. And so I don't know if you're at the I'll do anything to please you point, but back up off of that. Stand your ground, but don't get angry. No, I'm not doing that. If you want to talk about it, we can. But if you're just going to come in here yelling, I'd be more happy to do anything you want. But don't come in here yelling. I can't hear that. And then talk. And then have the conversation about the turn signal. I've been unhappy about this. First of all, start out with the good, though. Say, I love you, baby, and I tried to be a good man, and I do this and I do that. And I said, I'm trying so hard to make this a good marriage, one where we're both happy, one where you don't seem to be so dissatisfied with me, and one where I don't feel like I'm anybody in my house. We can do this. We can do this. She goes, okay, hon, I hear you're not with it. Talk about it in the morning. We can have a conversation about it. Now, I don't know her, and I don't know you. But there are things to do in between leaving and staying that might make staying palatable. It happened to me. And then once we figured it out, and we had two, conversation, therapy, conversation, we were like, oh, okay, we got it. And the next 12, 13 years were just wonderful. And I'm not going to say that happens for everybody who is in a whittled away situation. If you're in a whittled away situation, I happen to be in a whittled away situation with a good man who didn't understand his pain. If you're in a whittled away situation with someone who was just a jerk, different set of rules will apply. That's why, generalized advice is just about that good, which is why I try to self-process and procedure. See what works. Do something. Change your behavior. Change what you do. Go out more. Go out less. Take her out more. Whatever you do, and watch and see how it works. Think of it like a puzzle. Get your emotions out of it. That's what my mother always said. Get your emotions out of it. We're trying to think your way out of this mess you in. We're thinking your way out of your mess with it, because we're going to change your behavior, because you can't change his. We're going to change your behavior and see what the response is, and we're going to continue to make adjustments until you get him where you two can do this. Now, you won't necessarily be here, but where you can do this. We, however, got here. Oh, woo. That was silly and corny, and I don't care. Love him still. Y'all have a good day. Oh, this is the part I don't like. Hit the notification button and subscribe, because I always forget. And if you do want to ask a question, like Dude asked a question, which was a very good question, please, on the link tree in there, click on Ask Judge Lynn. It'll send me an email, and we'll figure it out on some other Friday. Y'all have a great day.